The information processing theory gives us information on how our brains process information. As a teacher, it is crucial that we understand the way information moves through the different stages of memory for maximum learning. There are three main components to the memory process. They are sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. The sensory memory stage is the first step of input into our memory system. This stage gathers information from your senses. The information gathered only is retained here for a few seconds, as little as even 2 seconds. For this information to move into the next stage, it must gain our attention somehow. If it does not gain our attention, it will be lost almost immediately. Short-term memory. This is the second stage for information to move to. Once our attention is gained, we move the information forward in our memory to the short-term memory stage. This stage is also known as the working memory stage. This is because that is what occurs here. Information here may last only 20 seconds or so if it is not worked with, and depending on what is done with the information depends on how long it will stay in the working memory stage. Rehearsal is an important part of working memory. However, this consistent repetition of information is not sufficient to move it into long-term memory stage. The information must be manipulated and encoded to be a more meaningful experience to move it forward. The short-term or working memory is only capable of holding and dealing with limited amounts of information at a time. You've heard the saying, if you chase too many rabbits, one is sure to get away. That is the same concept here. When there is too much of input, something will be lost. Long-term memory is the third stage of memory progression. Information that reaches this stage has been given more than rehearsal. It has been encoded. When something is encoded, you have related that information to something meaningful. It is connecting the new information with previously learned information. There are several ways to do this. A few you may use in teaching will include elaboration, which is taking information previously learned and thinking critically about that new information in relation to the previously learned information, which creates new and more complete knowledge. Second one is organization. Here you make connections between various pieces of new information. You may use graphic organizers such as Venn diagrams or window panes or outlines. There are several that you can choose from. This strategy is especially helpful with ESL students, English Second Language. Visual imagery is a very effectual avenue to go when you use a combination of elaboration and organization with it. Integrating art into a lesson plan is a great way to use this form of meaningful learning. The learner should create a mental image to connect the information. These stages that work into our long-term memory will move us towards the retrieval stage. And the retrieval stage is the process of bringing up information stored in our memory banks. This is used when we need to make sense of new information as well as responding to information. There are a few different ways one may go about retrieval, and that is recall. Free recall is when you recall information without any prompts or cues given to you. Then there is cued recall, and this is when a person is given cues or suggestions to stir up the information and bring it to the surface. Recognition is an example of this would be definitions with a word bank to choose answers from, or multiple choice. The student is given information they have processed and must make a decision or judgment regarding that information. Retrieval clues are clues used to encode the information in the beginning, and those are very helpful in retrieving information at a later date. For example, if the student dissected a real flower to learn the parts of the flower, they would be able to retrieve that information quicker if they were given a real flower during a test. This is called encoding specificity. So, in conclusion, Robert Gagne, the father of the information processing theory, tells us as a teacher that we need to gain the student's attention, give the student the learning objectives, call on prior knowledge, present new material, and guide the students, provide opportunity for demonstration of knowledge learned, and offer them feedback, assess the student, and enhance the retention and transfer of knowledge. These components of information processing are just a kind of a flyby of a very deep study concerning what goes on as we take in new information and store it in our memories. Thank you.